keep our land glorious. Oh, can it...
Yes. And that, of course, is the way things were. And we're very happy to be broadcasting to you live this morning from the Ottawa area. And I just need my headphones. Now we're waiting to see if we Katie Pastanay can join us later in the show. There's been some problems on her end this morning, so we're just waiting. Actually, her mother, Karen, is trying to locate her and see if she can get on the show. If not, within the next half hour, we're going to do a separate show. And so, and of course, if you saw that intro, and we're going to be showing you a little bit more of that, you will understand that's how people react to ostrich killers like Mark Carney. And I'm going to show you a little more footage of this because I think this is absolutely incredible when we come back in mere moments.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, we'll do it live. And that's Mark Carney's legacy. That's Mark Carney's legacy. I'm going to show you a few more of the videos from this. And I've got a few things to say about this.
Of Canada, le Premier Ministre du Canada, Mark Carney, and the CEO of Coinbase Canada.
Tails, Mr. Prime Minister, would you do us the honor? Tails has been called. This is a Tails.
And one more.
Keep our land glorious and free. Oh, can it...
Now, CTV and other networks have been trying to cover the backside of Mark Carney by suggesting the fans were saying blue. What the? Why would they be saying blue? Or that they were cheering as well as booing. We didn't hear any cheers. We separated the sound. There were definitely boos. And that's what happened here, folks. The game was in Winnipeg. And by the way, the Saskatchewan Roughriders won the game. So it's a Winnipeg tradition of the Blue Bombers fans to yell blue. Uh-huh. Mark Carney getting booed at the Grey Cup is the best play of the game so far. Wow. So despite what you're hearing from the mainstream media, he was not cheered as well as booed. The fans were not saying blue. It just never ends. Just never ends. Now I've got to, oh yeah. So that's it. This was trending on X even more than who won the Grey Cup. It was, if in fact, you had to look hard to find out that the Rough Riders won the game last night. There was more information, more news, more people talking about the fact that Mark Carney really embarrassed himself. Now, when did this become a tradition? Well, like last night, prime ministers have always attended the Grey Cup game, but not at the front, as spectators, not as participants in the game. or the opening ceremonies, they've been sitting in the stands. And some of you might remember or recall seeing in documentaries that a very famous Grey Cup game between, I think it was the Edmonton Eskimos at the time, that was still their name, and the Montreal Alouettes. And Peter Lougheed and Pierre Trudeau were both at the game watching. Lougheed cheering for the Eskimos, Trudeau cheering for the Alouettes, his hometown, Montreal. And of course, the camera caught them both. And of course, prime ministers have been seen at the Grey Cup before. They always go. It's a national tradition, but not to stand up front. Carney looked really peculiar. I have to say this. He looked really peculiar standing up front like that because, you know, he's a short little guy. He doesn't look the least bit footballish. He doesn't look like he's even interested in football. And what is he doing up there with people in uniform and police, veterans, Canadian Armed Forces personnel? What's he doing there? This is not a place for the prime minister to play politics, for a photo op, a political photo op for the prime minister. That's all this was. That's all this was. So let's get to some news. Yes, and like I said at the top, waiting to see if Katie can join us. If she's not going to join us today, she'll join us later for a later show or tomorrow. And she might join us halfway through the show. It's just there are some problems out in Edgewood, BC today, and they're dealing with them. So we'll see what happens. But so we were talking about PSYOPs the other day. You all might recall. And I was saying that one of the things to distract your attention from a collapsing economy, from a Canada that doesn't work anymore, from a Canada that's broken, is to show you scary pictures. So, strain of bird flu virus never before reported in people is behind first human case in U.S. in 9 months. One case. Okay, we had one case in Canada. The person survived. So is this now going to be labeled an epidemic or a pandemic or a health crisis worthy of mandates? You know, the government wants us to go down this path again because it worked so well for them the last time. I predict nobody's going to go for it, though, because people are frankly disgusted with what's going on, with these phony PSYOPs, these scares, these crises that aren't. So we'll see what happens. Now, interesting, just Saskatchewan. While most strains of avian influenza circulating in wild birds do not cause disease in domestic poultry. Most strains don't even cause disease in domestic poultry. So that's coming from the government of Saskatchewan, which is saying, hey, relax. Now, I've got a raft of biosecurity complaints to bring up here. And as a matter of fact, we are going to go to a letter that I wrote this morning because I want to read this to you, but I'm going to get to this in a second. But if you have biosecurity complaints, and we've got plenty of biosecurity complaints, same complaints and evidence about CFIA and RCMP and Super Save biosecurity lapses to this department. So that information will be in the description if you have concerns. And you probably do, especially if you live in the lower mainland of Vancouver, the outskirts such as Surrey, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, places like that. Yeah, you probably have some biosecurity complaints. Or if you happen to live at Edgewood, BC on the Universal Ostrich Farms, which of course the CFI and the RCMP left as a wasteland. It was almost like they salted the field. You know, the Romans used to do that when they really wanted to annihilate an enemy. they would throw salt on the field. And the Germans did that at a place in what is now Czechoslovakia, and what had been Czechoslovakia, a town of Ladici, that the Germans suspected had harbored 2 British agents who had had deleted the so-called Reich protector, Reinhard Heydrich. They salted the entire farmland. This is all, they didn't salt the farmland. They didn't salt the Universal Ostrich farms, but they left it in such a horrendous mess. It's a disaster area. They don't want these people to survive, and certainly not to thrive. And that has been what has been happening here. And it's absolutely shocking. Now, animal carcasses disposal. And I'm going to read to you from a letter. The procedure specifies the safe and proper disposal of uncontaminated and contaminated animal carcasses through the UBC Environmental Services Facility, ESP. I'm not making that up. To ensure compliance with all legislation. None of these rules or regulations were applied to the disposal of universal ostrich farms, ostriches. None of it. This waste could not have been received ostensibly from any landfill site in British Columbia, even though the CFIA continues to insist the ostriches were deep buried at an unidentified landfill site. Do you believe it? No. And as I said, I have posed a series of questions to the CFIA. What are these questions? Sorry. Sorry. I literally had to close the door. I'm going to read these questions to you. Which landfill took the ostrich bodies or remains? Number 2, how large was the hole that was excavated for this purpose? Number 3, why can't veterinarian Dr. Jeff Wilson of the University of Guelph be authorized to conduct a forensic examination of the ostrich tissues, which he's volunteered to do? Number 4, why were, quote, hazardous material, unquote, plaques not placed on the bins as per the rules and regulations? Number 5, why was Super Save Group used to haul the carcasses when they are not authorized to do so? Number 6, were the ostriches wrapped in individual plastic bags as per the regulations? Now, I can guarantee you, and I'm going to read from this letter very shortly here. Over 8 million birds slaughtered and composted by the CFIA in BC. Now, we've heard a number of reports, including this incredible reporter, independent citizen reporter, BC Barracuda or Barracuda Barbie. And she has said that the stench was so bad in the Fraser Valley last week as a result of them composting the chickens. Barracuda Barbie is right. They do. This is policy. Composting, yes. That's how the CFIA gets rid of its birds. So kudos to Barracuda Barbie for discovering this. Now, I want to read from this. I want to read from this letter. And this is, I'm not going to reveal this person's name because she didn't get back to me. And I want to ensure that it's okay to do so. And I'm just checking here to see if we're going to have a visit from Katie in the next couple of minutes, or we're going to do this later. Well, we'll find out. This is called live news, folks. This is how you do it. And, you know, we'll be talking about that in a minute here. So here's the letter I received from one of our viewers. And I'll give her initials, MS. I don't believe these ostriches are buried anywhere because they have to follow all laws when transporting them. First thing, none of these bins had any hazardous plaques on the bin trailers or trucks. When they were going to be dumped in a landfill, they must have all paperwork in hand to be shown. These birds need to be individually wrapped in approved plastic bags, which they were not. Also, anybody who saw them load these ostrich carcasses onto the bins, onto the trucks, could see that it was haphazard, incompetent, crazy. Also, another thing, they moved these birds on the weekend when they knew all the weigh scales were closed so that the commercial vehicle safety enforcement couldn't inspect them. Super Safe Disposal are not authorized to haul any animal carcasses. I had phoned the CVSE on Monday in Chilliwack, BC, and told them my concerns about how these were transported. They did go down to the Super Safe yard in Surrey, BC within the hour from phone call, but because they were behind closed gates, they can't do anything until they are on the road. So at that time, he gave some of the supporters his direct phone number to call him right away when these bins leave. I don't care what the CFIA is saying about birds being buried. I don't believe them for a minute because all they have done is lied about everything. If these birds are indeed buried, the family has every right to know since they are being billed. And one of the things they are being billed for is the disposal of these ostriches. So where are they? Where are they? I have found some information that I'm going to also share. Now, I can't absolutely confirm they are being billed for the transportation and disposal of the ostriches or for the cost of the occupation. That is one of my questions. That was one of my questions for the CFIA in the last series that I sent. Burying highly contaminated ostriches in a landfill requires adherence to strict government regulations. The use of an authorized and properly engineered secure landfill, meticulous biosecurity protocols, and the approval and oversight from relevant authorities such as the Canadian Food Inspection Agency in Canada or the United States Drug Agency in the U.S. Key requirements: regulatory oversight and permits, disposal of animals contaminated with reportable diseases. Example, highly pathogenic avian influenza must be done under the supervision of official veterinary authorities and local government bodies. Authorized landfill facility. The landfill used must be a specialized engineered facilities with features such as impermeable liners, leachate, liquid waste collection, and treatment systems and gas collection systems to minimize environmental impact. This is incredible. Standard municipal solid waste landfills do not typically accept large animal carcasses unless specified by the authorities during an outbreak. Now, I don't know if MS works for one of these government agencies. She didn't indicate to me. Obviously, if she does, that's one of the reasons I'm not revealing her name, because she will be in a shitload of trouble for telling me this, for revealing this, because once again, this is a government operation. The occupation of Universal Ostrich Farms, the massacre of hundreds of ostriches, and the so-called disposal of these birds was all a government operation that involved contracting out the private sector to some degree. Here's some more. Personal protective equipment, PPE. All personnel handling the carcasses must wear appropriate PPE, gloves, coveralls, masks, goggles to prevent contact with the contaminant and potential disease transmission. Wow. You remember those RCMP officers who were literally working in their bare hands with a pitchfork, throwing the debris, the grass, the blood, the ostrich parts all over the place? No mask, no protective goggles, not even gloves. Bare hands. Something funny about that. Carcass containment. Carcasses should be placed in sealed, leak-proof plastic bags, industrial strength, at least 3 millimeters thick, or containers prior to transport. Disinfection. All equipment and vehicles used for handling and transport must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected before leaving the contaminated site. Burial procedure at the landfill. It just gets worse. Layering. Carcasses are layered between layers of compacted solid waste or impermeable soil to aid decomposition and contain odors. Covering. A minimum of 2 feet, 0.6 meters of soil or solid waste cover is required to prevent access by scavengers, vermin, wild animals, etc., and the collection of surface water. Monitoring. The burial site must be monitored post-disposal for settling, odor release, and potential leachate or gas issues. Site selection. The landfill site must be located a significant distance away from water sources, wells, streams, lakes, and human habitats to prevent contamination of drinking water and public health issues. In practice, the entire process of culling, transport, and disposal in an outbreak situation is managed and documented by government authorities to ensure compliance with animal health and environmental protection laws. Clearly, that was sidelined in this operation. It just gets worse. And according to this letter, this is an allegation because I haven't been able to substantiate this. This is an allegation that in January 2014, Super Safe Disposal Incorporated was ordered to pay a $145,000 fine for operating an unlicensed waste handling facility at the Surrey location, BC, where we have been all week with Mr. Lacombe, with Oliver, with Monty, with Luca Robinson, myself was there virtually, along with Anita Krishna, who was on scene. This is where we've been all week. They have an unauthorized waste disposal site at that location. Once again, I can't, but this person seems to know a hell of a lot about this operation. No, Super Safe Disposal is generally not allowed to haul dead carcasses as they are considered a banned hazardous material in regular waste streams. The company has explicitly stated on their website and in practice that they do not handle dead animals in their general disposal services. Now, once again, I wasn't able to find that. But so that is an allegation. Super Safe Disposal was recently involved in a controversial incident in Edgewood, BC, yes, where they provided the bins and fencing for government-ordered ostrich cull, leading to significant public backlash and reports that the company was not licensed for biohazard removal. So that's almost the end of this letter, but everything in this letter indicates what we have been saying all week to you and to everybody who has been watching. Proper disposal of animal mortalities is subject to specific regulations to prevent public health issues and environmental contamination. Absolutely incredible. Small dead animals, while may be double bagged and placed in regular garbage or buried on private property, use gloves and do not place in compost or green bins. Large dead animals require specific handling, which may involve, and I've repeated most of those. So that is incredible. Now, I want to show you this. We introduced this yesterday. These are the ostrich stickers. And I'm going to show you the merchandise in a second here. But we have literally received dozens of orders on these stickers today. And like I said, we are giving receipts. The receipts that we get in terms of the income raised will be given to Universal Ostrich Farms. Their new moniker, by the way, is Justice for Our Ostriches. I didn't put it up because I just went to the site and it's not working yet. It will be very, very shortly or by tomorrow. And isn't it incredible? I never mentioned this to Katie. I talked to Karen Esperson this morning, and she notified me about the change from Save Our Ostriches to Justice for Our Ostriches. But we never discussed using the word justice in any of the fundraising that they're doing or any of the promotion that I am doing or they are doing. We never even mentioned it. But we were completely, as we always have been, simpatico on this. So they are using the same word justice in all of their information. So I want to show you this video again, because if you missed it yesterday, this is really, really something.
This is what you get if you have a voice. This is what you get if you push.
And this is Teresa Joy. And she has been a consistent critic of the CFIA, Government of Canada, Carney, everybody associated with this ostrich massacre. Very
push back. We're going to shoot these animals that you love for 5 hours straight while we make you listen to the gunshots in the night. The ostrich slaughter was not about biosecurity. It was a test of obedience to see how far fear propaganda could push people. Could it push people to put aside facts? Could it push people to put aside compassion? I see some comments like, it is the responsible thing to comply with the CFIA. If you think that it is the responsible thing to kill healthy animals, then the CFIA and the government has conditioned you to accept the ultimate authority of a system who can kill without reason, without testing, without evidence, without consent, and without oversight. These ostriches were gunned down. You don't have to comply with evil. You don't have to comply with death. And if you have been made to believe that just because it's a policy, then we can have suffering and death and gore, you have been conditioned to reflect on history and when this has happened before, when authorities have told the public that it is in their best interest and public safety to kill healthy beings. The CFIA did not have to kill, slaughter, massacre the ostriches in the way that they did. So for people who are making comments now after seeing what happened to the ostriches, that it's responsible, the CFIA killed them in the most heinous, violent, vicious way they possibly could imagine, where not only did the birds suffer way more than they had to, but the people suffered, and that was on purpose, and to warn all Canadians. This is what you get if you have a voice. This is what you get if you push back. We're going to shoot these animals that you love for 5 hours straight while we make you listen to the gunshots in the night. And at the end of the 5 hours, we're going to go in with single bullets and shoot them all in the head because they've been suffering for 5 hours. And then in the morning, we're going to go back in and shoot the rest of them that were suffering all night. And then we're going to let you see their dead, mangled, twisted, lifeless bodies. And we're going to let you all see that so that you know never to question authorities again.
Canadian government right there that just did this.
Right as we speak, 50 fucking shots in the last 20 minutes. There ain't gonna be any left in 15 minutes.
Birds, please stop this. We love these birds. Please. They're healthy. Please, they're healthy. They have never been tested. They have names.
As I said, I was expecting Katie to be on the show today. It's been a horrible time for her and her family, as you can all imagine. And I apologize for the the fact she's not going to be on the show today unless she comes out real quick. But it's been a horrible time for her and her family. And she texted me yesterday and said, let's do something first thing tomorrow about what we're going to be doing. And what Katie has decided to do is to start an association, and that's going to happen within the next 48 hours. And it's going to be called A Voice for Farmers. And the goal, the objective of A Voice for Farmers, and this is, of course, why I want Katie on the show as soon as possible, if not today, tomorrow, to talk about what A Voice for Farmers is all about. And what it's all about is something Katie talked about throughout the entire Ostrich campaign. If this can happen to us, she said, it can happen to anybody that owns a farm. It can happen, and it's ultimately going to mean your own pets aren't safe from the CFIA. And are we ultimately safe? Not from the CFIA. I don't think they'll expand their parameters to include people. But the government has demonstrated in the past its willingness to stigmatize, to alienate, to isolate, to penalize, and to punish people who don't necessarily go with their health regime, who didn't think masking was going to work, who didn't think 6-foot distancing was effective, who thought the vaccine was untested and potentially toxic. They were right. They were right when we can finally say that. Because thanks to the research from people like Naomi Wolf, Dr. Naomi Wolf, who wrote the Pfizer papers, or edited the Pfizer papers, and I had Naomi on the show to discuss this. We know Pfizer knew this mRNA vaccine was not only untested, but was potentially dangerous for millions, tens of millions of people. So you don't go along with that narrative. The government might think maybe they should get you out of the way. How many people during the COVID pandemic on the government side said, don't give the unvaccinated health care, let them die. Don't give them a bed in the hospital. Don't give them emergency care. Don't give them drugs. Don't give them treatment. Don't give them health care because they're not on our side. They're dangerous. That potentially could mean a death sentence. Government came very close to that. Thank God for the Freedom Convoy for pushing back on COVID mandates. Thank God for doing that. And if you think it can't happen to humans, you're wrong. Now I'm going to show you our merchandise, and I'll show you this again. I want to say this. We're not just giving the profits, we're giving all costs associated with this to the Ostrich Farm. Any money raised, all money's raised from the sale of these stickers is going to Universal Ostrich Farms, is going to Katie and Karen and Dave. That's where it's going. I think that's the least I can do. There's other things I'm going to be doing quietly behind the scenes, but publicly, I want you all to know about this. I think this is something I needed to do. Now, we'll be right back after this brief introduction to our story. Now, I want to get back to the slides here because I did not show all of the stickers, and I was just reminded of that. Yeah, how does that one grab you? Hey, RCMP and CFIA, the world saw you. The world saw you. Isn't that a fine representation of an RCMP officer and a CFIA inspector? A country run by banks will always be in debt. Healthcare run by Big Pharma will never cure disease. A state run by war will never know peace. A nation run by media will never know the truth. Wow. Isn't that not exactly the way things are? So this is a close-up view of the stickers. And I neglected to show this to you all the last time. What goes around comes around. You bet it does. Now, I want to get back to the farm, because if you're thinking, well, why should we continue to support the ostrich farm? They lost their ostriches. I guess it's all over. Well, that's what the government would like you to think. Yeah, the government would like you to think it is all over. But let's have a look at the farm again. And once again, this is courtesy of Chris Dacey, Dacey Media. And I think this shows you what this family's dealing with right now. And Katie and Karen, what they're dealing with this morning when they got up. Oh.
Enter this area either to document it or collect evidence because of the biohazard risk. Meanwhile, you pan over here and there's a bunch of birds, numerous birds. Look at these ones walking in the water, the runoff from the rain that's been coming through the blood-soaked hay and killing pen. And all these what appear to be ducks. There's also been turkeys and some migratory birds, probably. These ostriches were slaughtered because they said there was a risk that they would infect migratory birds. When the ostriches were here, the birds didn't land. Now that they're all dead and their blood is running off in the rain-soaked puddles, we have birds landing in it and they could just fly right off. These ones are on the ground, but we have video of flocks of birds coming in. More of this hay, all of this taken from the kill pens. More birds can be seen here. Turkeys come through here. The CFIA and their paramilitary enforcers, the RCMP, not only moved all this hay around to fill the destroyed field, they drove right through this, in and out of the pens, drove all around. They've left this disgusting mess behind that the farm is going to be responsible for cleaning up, it seems. It's a biohazard for them. They can't go in, can't document. Winter's coming. But the runoff of blood-soaked hay into the puddles with the birds is somehow not a biohazard?
Now I want to go to my X feed here, but what does that remind you of? Looks like a war zone. Looks like they had a war there. And they just left these bales of hay, which the taxpayers bought, and they just left them in a huge pile. They took so much hay from the local area that some farmers had difficulty buying hay. And of course, who are they going to donate the hay to now? We know these ostriches didn't have avian influenza, H5N1. We know that. But you can't give away hay that's been contaminated with, ostrich parts and blood. Nobody wants that. So what are they going to do with it? Truck it away to a waste disposal site? And you can bet the landfill is not going to take it because it's contaminated. So what happened to all of the, excuse my language, the shit farm and local landfill sites apparently must have been taking it after Super Save packed it up. We documented this for you. Went from a gravel pit to Super Save Group in Vernon, then to undisclosed landfill sites. We never were able to find out which landfill sites were taking all of the trash from Universal Ostrich Farms for 6-7 weeks. You think they're going to take this hay? What are they going to do with it? This is just so outrageous. It's so sad. I'm sorry, but I am beyond belief that we have a government that's this evil. And if they can do it to this farm that got up on their hind legs and fought back, they can do it to anybody. And that, of course, is why Katie is starting a voice for farmers. Somebody's got to do it. Now, let's have a look at our Rex here. So hopefully in the future, we're going to have that up as justice for our ostriches. As soon as that website is working, we will be replacing that. Yeah, incredible. Incredible. There's Mark Carney getting the boos, justifiably being booed for playing politics at the Grey Cup. Incredible. Incredible. The CFIA is at it again, folks. Share Aware Canada, that has done, once again, a lot of their independent research and put this stuff up on social media, X included. Breaking, CFIA. Critter Aid Animal Rescue has been targeted further. After forcing them to call all of their ducks voluntarily, they are now after the peacocks. Wow. You know, and originally posted by Melissa. CFIA going after another animal farm sanctuary, this time peacocks at Critter Aid in BC. They already euthanized ducks there. When will the CFIA stop their killing spree? What else are they going to do, Melissa? That's all they're good for. As Katie always likes to say, they're only good at lying and killing. Proceeds, yes, to the Universal Ostrich Farm so they can pursue justice for their ostriches and their farm family. If you didn't see our work this last week and Sunday, the work we did at Surrey from eyewitnesses at the site, I encourage you to go back and have a look at it. This is interesting. Wow, I don't think the Carney Liberal government, CFIA, World Health Organization, World Association World Animal Health Organization, I think it's actually the World Organization for Animal Health, and Big Pharma saw this coming. If the U.S. Trump administration demands an international investigation into the cull of the ostriches, watch all those corrupt evildoers experience the panic and pandemonium that the ostriches were put through. God says, vengeance is mine. Yeah, that's a little news about the. I don't know, they got in there. Sorry, to get back in. Once again, our biosecurity complaints, the information will be in the description. More about the peacocks, which is incredible. A great piece by Jamie Sarkonak in the National Post. It's not just the ostriches. Cattle farmers rail against CFIA incompetence. We're losing food to the CFIA. Does that have anything to do with the World Health Organization's stated agenda of wanting us to eat insects? Forget your T-bone steaks. Forget your chicken, your roasted chicken. Forget your pork cutlet. They're all going to be dead. Now, here's another. This is Sean Rickard, who's reporting that he has Trish Wood on the show with him. They discuss in depth how CFIA and RCMP appear to have violated sections 65 and section 445.1 and potentially section 446 of the Criminal Code. As a result, they all must be held accountable and forced to explain their actions and who their orders came down from. Who do you suppose it came down from? You know, that is certainly well worth asking. And that's all we're asking the CFIA. Some basic questions. Where are they? Where did you deep bury them? Where did you deep bury them? We want to know. Encourage you to support Katie, Karen, and Dave, because they have got tremendous legal bills to pay, not just for themselves. The Supreme Court ordered them to pay for the legal costs of the CFIA. In other words, to pay the government's legal costs. Potentially, they could also be stuck with the bill for the occupation and the disposal of the birds. You think it can't happen? And why, when all of these laws, these regulations, and these rules were broken by government agencies, by government departments, how come nobody's being charged or fined or investigated? Demand that they be investigated, fined, and charged. Demand it. Because this is absolutely outrageous. If you didn't see my little guest stint with Rebel News, my old friend Dave Menzies, and of course, Drea Humphrey, who did some fantastic reporting on the ostrich crisis when she was there, and she was there quite a bit. I'm also joined by Mario for the North. We had a wonderful conversation about the first half hour about the ostrich. The second half hour was about the loss of property rights that has been essentially initiated by Aboriginal title and the giveaway of hundreds of properties, private properties, to the Haida Indian band because of Aboriginal title. We talked about that. And I think that's about all. And once again, I encourage you. This was a very popular episode. I encourage you to watch my episode on Friday night, or Saturday's episode. We were there Friday night. Saturday we broadcast it, and that was with Anita Krishna, and we did some reporting on the Surrey site, and it was very, very interesting. And you know, what the hell is Angie Rasmussen working for the Saskatchewan government for? Or actually, she's working for the federal government. Sorry. She's working in Saskatchewan. She's an American citizen. Yeah. Biohazard, but only when it suits the CFIA. Incredible. Incredible story. I don't know, folks, when the tears stop, when the sadness subsides for the folks who are closest to the story. I don't know when that stops, when that ends. Maybe never. But I'm encouraging Katie to get on with her new mission, her new objectives for her own health and wellness, because she's been through hell and back with this government occupation and operation. It has been horrendous. Thank you for watching today, folks. I'll be back again tomorrow, and I'll let you know as soon as possible when Katie can get on the show. My apologies again that she was unable to make it today, but I know she was with us in spirit, and she'll be with us again soon in person. Thanks for watching. That's all for Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I'm going to keep this station on the air. I'm going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth. And I am damn determined to resist this Carney government in any way possible as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. I'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place. 10 a.m. This has been David Crayden Broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.